when analyzing the prompt, there's a couple things that I want to make sure that I do. Number one, I want to make sure that I understand what it is that I'm supposed to do. So I go through and I circle the verbs. In this case, it wants me to analyze. So I've got to analyze, which means to break it down into its individual parts and look at those individual parts. Now, what is it that I'm supposed to be analyzing? I got to analyze the influence of the scientific revolution on the development of the modern era. So really what I'm analyzing is the influence. I'm going to put a box around that because that's really what I want to pay attention to. The influence of the scientific revolution, okay, on the development of the modern era. So how did the scientific revolution affect or change things that led us into the modern era? Okay, so now remember, I'm going to be writing a 5-paragraph essay. My first paragraph is my intro. My last paragraph is my conclusion, so I need the 3 body paragraphs. So really what I have to do here in order to write a good, solid, or a decent, solid thesis statement is I've got to come up with 3 different ways in which the scientific revolution has influenced the development of the modern era. Well, I know some things about the scientific revolution. We've talked about that. And I can say that certainly the scientific revolution gave us, and I'm just listing these right now, an explanation, or gave people a much different explanation for the way in which the natural world, the way in which the natural world works. Okay, before they had that medieval view and they didn't really understand it very well, and then science came around and they had a much different idea of how the natural world works. It also, I know, brought around the ideas or the movement for the Enlightenment. Okay, and so those Enlightenment thinkers furthered the ideas of the scientific revolution in terms of thought and logic and reason and how we should govern things. And they started to question that, and they did that in all other kinds of aspects other than just the natural world and sciences. They started to apply that to politics and government and the individual and all that kind of stuff. The scientific revolution also started to question the role of the church. What part should that play in our lives? Should they be the sole authority on all things in the world, or do people seem to have a little bit more free will and the ability to do something with their lives? So one way or another, I've got my 3 topics that I'm going to talk about in my essay. So body paragraph 1, body paragraph 2, body paragraph 3. So now I want to write a thesis statement that incorporates those and ties it back to the prompt. Okay, and so first part of this, I'm just going to basically tie it back to the prompt. So I'm going to talk about the scientific revolution influenced, because that's what I needed to talk about, right? I needed to talk about how it influenced, okay, the modern era by, and then I'm going to go into my 3 different ideas that I think are ways in which it influenced by providing or explaining the natural world, it spurred, I'm just going to throw it in here a little bit different, it spurred Enlightenment thought, another way of saying it brought around the Enlightenment movement. And my last one, it began and questioned the role the church in the everyday lives of the people. So really, by understanding the prompt, coming up with my 3 main topics I'm going to talk about, and then crafting those into one sentence tied back to the prompt, scientific revolution influenced, okay, the modern era by doing this, this, and this in one statement, gives me a solid thesis statement that now anybody reads this, they know basically what they're going to read about or should read about in the rest of my essay.